Hello, everyone. It's Rick Lawrence and Fred Oduyoye, founder of Reachable Reconciliation. This week, we had a couple of things happen that I think it'd be interesting, Fred, to get your perspective on this. So, Whoopi Goldberg, the comedian and one of the hosts of The View, on the View, said that she thought when they were talking about the Holocaust, she thought that wasn't what happened there. Wasn't really racism because it was white people hurting white people. And then the Jewish community, of course, was very offended by this. And Whoopi Goldberg pushed back a little bit and said, no, here's what I mean. And I'm a supporter of the Jewish community, a long supporter of them. That's not what you think. And let me explain this again. And eventually she had to make a more formal apology and she has said, I didn't really understand that this was about race. So she was clearly saying that race is color-based. And the controversial podcaster Joe Rogan made a similar mistake in basically saying the only people who are really black are those that are really darkly black, and the other variations of that aren't really black. And Trevor Noah went viral with his response to that. You can watch that somewhere. But I thought it'd be interesting, Fred, just to hear from you. This is unconscious bias that people are displaying, and they're like, oh my gosh, no, I'm not racist. But what do you think is a good, healthy response when someone has their unconscious bias uncovered? What's a good response?
Yeah, Rick, I don't know that I could, that we could tackle all this in such a short moment. I think that, this type of ignorance is really what it is. I feel like if you're a person that has these preconceived perceptions, stereotypes of a race or culture that you are not normally involved with or you interact with, then the first thing you need to do is lose all of that. Like whatever it is that's going on in your brain, whatever, neuro-linguistic programming you have in your head, all right, whatever your brain and all of your senses think you know about a race or culture, and you've not had any interaction, then you have missed the historical depth and the experiences and the history of that culture. And you have now created a mindset of your own on how you feel about them. And that's wrong, right? It's almost like a person who's blind, right? And so you're blind with it, but you're acting like you can see something that you can't really see, right? Mm-hmm. And so in order to, treat that, you really need to go back to some of the same, points that you and I have talked about before, which is don't say anything. Listen. How about you listen and you learn one engagement at a time, one relationship at a time. And, and if you don't have those relationships, maybe it's just reading, whatever it is about the culture as a starting point. But I think that we miss the mark when we make assumptions about a culture or about their background or about a certain situation that's gone on, and we don't have the information, about why they, about who they are, period, right? It's who they are.
Yeah, and when you're in a conversation with someone whose unconscious bias surfaces in that conversation, what question would you really appreciate from that person when it's surfaced? What's something that you would really respect if that person asked a listening question like blank? What kind of question would you respect?
Sure. Fred, tell me what would be one thing, one starting point for me to learn how to listen better and learn about a culture. And so with that, maybe it's a book recommendation, maybe it's a TV series on Netflix, or maybe it's a movie, or maybe it's a person listening, a podcast, any of that. But what's one thing, Fred, that can give me a starting point so that I can create a pattern of learning more instead of assuming more.
Good. So instead of me telling more,
Right.
I invite you to tell me more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because think about the person that's blind, right? I mean, like, Black people like to use Stevie Wonder because, that's we all know Stevie Wonder, right? But we all know him. But think about how much listening he has to do, right? In order to learn about the world.
Oh, yeah. I love that, Fred. I mean, if you're blind and you suddenly realize it, then you need to use your other senses in a much
Yes.
more concerted way
Yes.
to take in. Yeah, that's really good. It's good. Well, I think that's a good starting point. And if you're interested in exploring past the starting point with Fred, he can take you there. Just look down below this video for ways to connect with Fred in a individual way, a cohort way. He's done all kinds of iterations of walking people into reconciling environments, reconciling relationships. We'll see you again next time for our next conversation.
Great.